Hello everyone and welcome to Weekend Rental episode 54. We are your gaming and geek culture podcast. As always, you can find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean. Go ahead and leave us a review out there. We really appreciate it. And now you can also find us at geekade.com. Movies, video games, whatever your interest, you can find articles, podcasts, and more out at geekade.com. What's your geek? My name is Ryan. And as always, I'm joined by Andy.
Hey.
And Nate.
What's going on, guys?
All right, let's kick this thing off. Let's go right into our opening segment, Buy, Rent, Burn. If you're new to the podcast, what we do is we pick a game. We each individually pick a game for a given system. This week, it's the Turbografx 16. We all played these games individually and then give our thoughts as to which we would personally buy, rent, or burn. So let's go through the list here. Andy has gone with Bravo Man. Nate has gone with Impossamole. And I have gone with Kadash. So let's go back up at the top. We're going to hear a little bit about each one, talk about them individually. But let's start off with the description for Andy's pick, Bravo Man. So, Dr. Bomb is a mad scientist with an attitude. He just activated his end-of-the-world weapon, aptly named. And only you, Bravo Man, can find his lab and save us all. About a zillion of his deadly creatures are out to stop you. Spring your killer kicks, mega wallops, and headbutts against the scissor-tentacled twin squarane. Close enough. Defeat Zoron's attacks from the sky, then face the nuclear-haired madman himself. Will it be defeat for Dr. Bomb or doomsday for us? Tick, tick, tick.
There's a lot of...
I feel like you need one more tick at the end. You're like, tick, tick, tick. I was in suspense, so tick. There.
All this talk about doctors and robots and stuff, it sure sounds familiar.
It does. It's almost like another video game where an evil doctor does things, and you're a superpowered man of some sort.
Yeah,
you're not quite a Bravo Man, but there might be something else.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the scale on that? Is Mega above Bravo?
Yes, alphabetically and in power ranking.
In quality.
Sure. Quality, yes. Well above.
Plus a gun, shooting a blaster right out of your arm is way better than just extendable punch.
No, I mean, punching your arm 8 feet across the screen is so much more effective.
I mean, you do get a cannon and shoot bubbles.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an action platformer, mostly, I guess, just action game, I would say. You're a robot jumping around and then just punching things with an extendable arm. And you collect what looks like kanji that turns into something on the bottom. And I'm not sure what that part does, but...
It's like if one of the guys from it's like if Spring Man raped Mega Man, then they threw the fetus into a dumpster. This is what grew out of that dumpster fetus, is Bravo Man, is how I feel about this.
Wow, that's...
I can see it. Description?
Yeah. Yeah, and probably down to the speech itself. Because that's the other thing this game has. It has, every time you jump, it seems like he says something, but since it's a...
Bravo,
Bravo! Bravo!
Bravo!
You could hear it? Okay, my audio was just bad. I just figured that...
I was just assuming that's what he was
Yeah, he was yelling Bravo. It was super annoying.
Okay.
And then, I just want to point this out. Did anyone else, like Dr. Bomb, in all those cutscenes, because they're animated cutscenes, it looked like I was in a first-person view, like porno as the female, and Dr. Bravo was jabbing that dildo into my vagina. Is kind of the cutscene. Was it just me?
I mean, I didn't take it like that.
Yes.
I knew he was like poking you with the stick for sure, but I just took it as he's egging me on, not like some weird porno that you like to watch.
All right, you're just hitting home runs right away. You're just
I like to watch. I mean, and it doesn't have to be a female. This could have been like a guy on guy porn thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's weird now that I was playing it. I feel dirty.
I want that haircut though.
I feel like we're not playing the same game because I really enjoyed it.
You enjoy penetration from Dr. Bomb in between levels?
I like playing the video game the video game. I kind of enjoyed it. I mean, it's not a great game. It doesn't display the Turbografx 16 well, I think, but I kind of enjoyed it still.
I mean, it has a couple hallmarks of like what the Turbografx 16 could do, and that's like big sprites, smooth animation, but then it has like some of the negative sides that better engineered games overlook. Like I put this on the same level as like a Keith Courage, where it's this almost 16-bit looking game, but the gameplay mechanics are so simplified and dumbed down that it feels like an 8-bit like control mechanic, which just kind of derails what otherwise could have been maybe a more full-fledged package.
I mean, that's kind of the struggle with these type of games. Like once you have the giant sprites, then you have to make the level giant as well. So like everything is so big and blocky that it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to the level. That's what you're climbing up, or, you know, you're not seeing much in one certain spot, where like if you're playing Mario, you can see how many different coin blocks all at once, and, you know,
right,
different areas, where this is just not.
Yeah, I think the jump mechanic was very odd in there, because it's you jump and then you kind of just hang in midair.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least I felt like that was happening, and I wasn't sure if it was a specific power up that I grabbed or what, but it was kind of jump and then you just hang in the air for a split second and then you come back down. It was just really just an odd feel.
Well, and then like as you were saying, like once you jump and throw the punch, it like locks your character as to whatever height he was in his jump, which means you don't get a second chance if you were like a little above or a little below on an enemy, which is kind of frustrating when some of those enemies pop in and out of like tubes, I guess, kind of Mario style.
Was the Turbo 16 was it known for voiceovers? I mean, that I thought was kind of interesting right at the intro screen when you start playing. I don't know of many games that had that.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things that they did a little bit more than maybe the competition, just because their machine could handle it pretty well. I mean, especially once you got to the Turbo CD add-on, like, yeah, for sure they were doing it. But yeah.
Interesting.
Well, bravo, man. Should we move on to our next one?
Definitely.
All right, let's go to Nate's pick here. Impossamole. For Monty Mole, a day at the beach turns into the adventure of his life when he's beamed aboard an alien spacecraft. He's transformed into Impossamole with superpowers to save the planet from the evil Vlarg. Now you're up to your cape in Vlarg's monsters with crack-up creatures ready to nail your tail. Power up your laser to blast through Dragon Boss, bomb the abominable snowman, and thrash the Venus mole trap before he has you for lunch. Swim, fly, and blast your way through wacky action-packed worlds. The fiendish Vlarg awaits your final desperate battle.
So I think the title should be Impossible instead of Impossamole. Guys, you get it? I made a joke. This game sucks. It is it's a classic Nate pick here. It's, I guess, considered an action platformer for the most part. There are some you have to gather certain things or certain amount of things before you exit each stage. So sometimes you're looking for keys or scrolls or whatever it is. You have to have all of them in place before you exit, and it just feels like a broken game. It doesn't look good. I couldn't really tell he was a mole for the most part. It's very clunky. So there was one point where I dropped down into some water or something like that, and I needed to get a scroll, but I had to try to jump back up and out, and it just really, it wasn't working. I was trying to jump on ledges. There's in the caves and stuff like that. You jump on a ledge and then you kind of inch your way out, and then you find yourself not even standing on the ledge, but you're just in midair, and then you got to kind of run and jump. It's for me, it just didn't really play that well.
Yeah, so I was looking at this a little bit, and it turns out this is like the final in a series of like other Amiga and early PC related games. So that kind of explains some of what's going on here. I don't know, like I'm not as harsh on this one. I actually enjoyed I'll be fair, like I don't like Bravo Man and I don't like Impossamole, but I think I had a better time with Impossamole. I think the art direction was better. I think the sound direction was better. I just don't like that it was this weird scavenger hunt type game instead of just a direct platformer like it should have been. But other than that, I didn't have too much of an issue with it. There's a lot of cheap deaths, and yeah, the weird platform mechanics where like you're hanging off ledges basically to make jumps is just absurd. But I mean, it's a mole in a cape. I mean, that's kind of cool, right? Maybe.
When you're playing through the cave levels, you have those rocks that just fall with really... So it would kind of wiggle, but it didn't give you enough time to even get out of the way, and it would just nail you every single time. It got very frustrating towards the end. It's just, there's no way to avoid it.
Yeah.
You just got to wiggle it a little.
Wiggle it.
Wiggle it a little.
Wiggle a little.
Yeah, toward the end of that level, that first level, like, yeah, those rocks are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, I love just, they went for just like dumb art directions. Like, I don't know if they just found some sprites on a computer, like a clip art program or something. And they're just like, let's put this in here. Let's put this in there. It's all random stuff. I mean, rain hurts you. A walking camera gets you. Some sumo wrestlers. Like,
yeah, what's up with that? So random.
It's just all a whole bunch of random enemies. And I don't know. I don't like the respawn. I mean, it's the thing I just don't enjoy in a lot of games. But overall, it wasn't bad other than the, 1 foot kick, distance that you got out of kicking.
All right. Impossamole. Let's move on to our third and final game. My pick, Kadash. Arise. This sounds very familiar to another game. Arise, brave warrior. Your services are once again needed. Brogue the Destroyer has kidnapped the king's only daughter, Princess Sarasa, and is now bent on universal dominance. Become a powerful fighter, mage, priestess, or ninja in your quest to return peace to the once tranquil land of Deerzar. All right. Be wary on the path to your goal. Brogue is littered it with many foes, reanimated hands of stone to giant pedropods, or Dakrari, whatever those are. Enlist the services of a trustworthy friend to your aid. For this quest allows 2 brave souls to venture forth via the Turbo Tap. Way to product place there. You must succeed. So, Kadash is a great game on whatever platform. It started out in the arcade. It's also on Genesis, and there's a great port to the Turbografx. Basically, what happened this week was I was late to picking a game for the Turbografx, and I saw Bravo Man and Impossamole, and I decided I wanted to play something that didn't suck. So I put Kadash on here and kind of cheated. So basically, Kadash has you grabbing one of the... It's sort of like if you took Gauntlet and made it a 2D side-scroller. That's the vibe, kind of. You're grinding, you're building up level. There's like some RPG elements. There's power-ups. There's potions. And you just build up your character level by level. You can build up the hit points. You can progress through the stage, or you can take your time, take out enemies one by one, and build up your overall level status, which boosts your stats into, making your character stronger. Visually, I would say it does a pretty good job of showcasing the Turbografx. The sprites are large, not quite as large as they are in the original arcade version, but enough that this would have been impressive when this was ported, which I think was 91. And the sound design is great. The character design looks good. The enemies are cool and unique. Water, for whatever reason, makes your character spaz and like jump all over the place, which I don't quite understand, but it is what it is. And this is a working designs game ported to the Turbografx, and it shouldn't be a surprise that I love this game. What did you guys think of it?
It's good. It's really enjoyable to play. I thought it was kind of funny when you're picking your characters. They have like these kind of medieval-esque characters, and then there's ninja. I was like, I gotta go with the ninja. So that was my pick. Yeah, it played really well. The water was a little bit frustrating when you get into the water and you couldn't get out, because every time, every like second you're in the water, it's depleting your health. And so you kept on just bumping back. And that was very frustrating, especially if you just were like, I just fell in for a moment. I can jump out if you let me. And so there was a couple of those moments, but I mean, it's Kadash, so it's pretty awesome. And it's not fair that you picked it. So
It is not. I fully admit that. I'm sorry.
It's like, oh, what game to go up? Blazing Lasers. Let's throw that up against these guys. I've never heard of this game.
Yeah, it's kind of an automatic win, I think, in this case. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It makes sense that it's an arcade game. I was wondering about that because it just seemed like there was not a ton of story in a game like this, where they're just like, just go do this, and get a key for this. And yeah, it definitely seemed like that. To me, it reminds me a lot of like Monster World or Wonder Boy series.
Oh yeah.
Quite a bit. Just in like the really light action platformer or action RPG, I should say. And yeah, it's a lot of fun for sure. But yeah, like you said, the water, I got to the point where I felt like I was missing an item or something almost that was supposed to allow you to go through water without taking damage. But I must.
Yeah, I kind of like, I have gotten much further in the game than I did in this playthrough, but like, it's all about grinding that like second level section of the first level where the pigs are coming and the guy drops down. Like, I just sat there and I would just grind like level 8, and I'm like, all right, time to go.
That's the exact spot I did as well.
Yeah, the first time I played it, I did not do that, and I'm like, this game's freaking impossible. I can't do it. Once you learn that and like the patience, it's enjoyable, man. Well, it's Kadash. If you haven't heard about it, play it. Let's go back through and give our picks. My apologies for cheating again, but Andy, why don't you give us your breakdown?
Yeah, it's got to be Kadash. I mean, if a game can, like you said, make respawning enemies enjoyable, for me, like who likes kind of grinding in RPGs, as long as I'm getting rewards for it, that's great. And yeah, it's a solid game, solid action RPG for sure, for a basically 8-bit system. So, boy, my rent, I think it's going to be Impossamole. Like I just thought it was more goofy, and I spent more time playing that game. For whatever reason, it was a lot cheaper. It was the quality is probably of the game itself is probably worse than Bravo Man, but I don't know. I just had something to it where I just kind of kept going and finding things. But then once I got to a couple other levels and it's just the same thing over and over, it's like, okay, I get it. Find the scrolls, got it. And then yeah, my burn's got to be Bravo Man. It's an okay game, but I don't know. I just did not enjoy it all that much because it's just jump, punch, and there's just not a whole lot of strategy to it. But
I can't believe I'm shaking my head. I'm like shaking my head no when you're like, oh, I'm going to rent Impossamole. It's my game. And I'm still like, why would you do that? That's awful. It's very clear for the first one. I mean, Kadash, let's move on. Ryan. Yeah, the rent is kind of interesting because both these games for me were lackluster and seemed very broken. But I'm going to go with Bravo Man. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more. I got less frustrated with it compared to Impossamole. Again, there's a pretty straight line across from one to the other. But yeah, so Bravo Man will be my rent. And then my burn is Impossamole because that game is impossible.
Well, yeah, obviously for my buy, I'm Kadash. I cheated. Kadash is great. I am also going to rent Impossamole. I think Impossamole is a more complete game than Bravo Man. I think Bravo Man is pretty lackluster overall. I feel like Bravo Man is what would happen if you dropped Mega Man on his head from about 6 feet up at birth. It's not great. Yeah, I didn't like it. I should probably burn Impossamole though, because I bet barbecued mole is probably pretty good.
He's a super mole though.
That just means he's juicier and full of more meat.
I guess.
This sounds great.
Hmm.
They're both bad.
That was a long pause after juicy meat, and I'm like, I don't know what to say to that. I'm kind of curious about what mole tastes like, but no, I don't know if that's right.
I'm Googling mole recipes now.
Oh, I'm sure it exists.
Oh, there's mole recipes. Let's hear this out. I want to know before I definitively decide which one I'm going to burn or not.
I'm going to add Instant Pot to the search query as well.
There you go.
I brought dinner home. Get that Instapot going.
Yeah. Yes.
Instant Pot
like
chicken
rednecks
mole.
have Instapots.
I don't know what chicken mole is, but
Mole?
I think it's mole.
Must be.
Yeah. All I know is I'm going to have some Impossamole.
Makes it sound like a much better game.
Another Byron burn in the books. So let's move on from Byron Byrne. Let's get into, we've got an interview coming up with a buddy of ours, Danton. Nate and I sat down with him. He's kind of our resident mod or technical expert when it comes to consoles. He solders, modifies, and makes really cool audio video out for consoles. And Nate and I have no clue how to do that, but appreciate his kind service. But before we get to that interview, let's follow up on our opening story from last episode. That Kid Icarus that we mocked, which I stand by, officially sold. We scoffed. We laughed at the price of $10,000, but it actually sold for $9,000. So my initial thoughts on that is like, this is a cluster of people with too much money on their hands who probably really don't appreciate and collect the games in the way that most of us do as collectors, because they are strictly seeking out pristine copies, sealed copies of games that are VGA graded in acrylic cases that are impossible to play. So I guess to this group, it's worth $9,000. What do you guys think about this kind of new piece to this retro market?
I was so set, just like you, that it was not worth that. And when you sent that text, oh man, I got so pissed. It's just it just doesn't make any sense. It does take the special person that's all they have is acrylic cases. Those are the people, unfortunately. So now let's say hello to high prices for very common games. Yeah.
Well, that's my biggest problem is like this confuses the non-retro gamer person, because like what we're talking about with this Kid Icarus and this $9,000 like auctioned game is like that's the 1%, right? Like that's probably the 0.01%. This is like a tier of like freak collectors that for whatever reason that's what they want to do with it. It's not the nostalgia, it's not any of that. It's not enjoying it for the art that it is, but all someone in the middle of Alabama hears is that Nintendo game fetched $9,000. Woo! And it's gonna blow up our hobby, and it sucks.
Sorry for any listeners in Alabama.
We love you.
And that's what it is. It certainly seems like that's becoming like what happened to comic books, right? Where the uber expensive ones are the ones that are graded perfectly and people aren't necessarily all about it, They like video games as a concept, I guess, but they have enough money to throw around to be like, well, this is just a piece,
Right.
And it's all about the grading. And another thing that happened this week, I don't know if you guys saw this, but a complete set of the original Pokemon cards that were all graded to be perfect 10s went for $100,000.
What the fuck?
So it's happening kind of all over the place, I think, is once it's getting graded to be like, well, this is a mint condition thing, and
So now it's determined that people have too much money.
yeah.
That's like the part that just pisses me off about this one in particular, though, is like, well, there's only 10 no one sealed VGA graded copies in collectors' hands, when we all know that there are probably 50 more pristine, better condition copies in collectors' hands that aren't acrylic cased, VGA graded, and then they like just push this fact out there like it's something that truly exists, and it's like, okay, so 10 dipshits have VGA graded their sealed Kid Icarus. That's not the end all or be all. Like, it drives me nuts.
Right. I mean, there's maybe 25% of collectors that really go for it that actually believe that grading is a good thing to do for their collection,
I mean, I guess if you want to retire on it, I mean, do it now while the iron's hot, but what is this going to do in like 10 years? Because comics plummeted. That got oversaturated. I mean, there are a few that are worth a lot, right?
Yeah, if you have the original, for sure.
But, yeah.
I wonder, have you noticed individual cards raising up in price a little bit? Especially for Kid Icarus.
So I haven't noticed like where it was at going up, but I think we talked a little bit about the price is probably going up on price charting. I think we talked like at the time of last recording, it was like $43 on price charting, which I think was low for a sealed copy of Kid Icarus. So if you go back to price charting today, the price hasn't really changed for a loose or a complete, but a new copy now of Kid Icarus has gone up to $1,197.79 in 2 weeks.
I think it's just following the eBay algorithm, I suppose, and so it's like that's what it's worth now.
So I mean, these are actual sales of non-VGA graded copies that are sealed on eBay and Amazon, but I mean that's still just like a disgusting swing, right? Because we all know that Kid Icarus was like, maybe it wasn't the highest print run game on the NES, but there were certainly many copies of this.
Well, it's first party, it has to be.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like it was B tier first party too, so it's like nobody really. I mean, I knew of this game, but like nobody really talked about it after the first like couple years of the NES. So, but yeah, graded. Oh, I'm sorry, the graded price now. I didn't realize they added this to price charting. Believe it or not.
Oh my gosh!
Take it for what it's worth. It's $27,500 is the now graded price of this game.
So
that $9,000 investment.
Who are the graders, and what is the regulations on that? What is the standards? I mean, it's just Joe Schmo that's like, I can grade that. It's about a 9 or whatever it is.
Well, that's part of the problem too, right? Is like, that's kind of where grading's at. I mean, there are different pockets where people actually have knowledge, but for the most part, it's still the Wild West. Like the people auctioning and doing the majority of the grading at this point still aren't the people with the knowledge. So it's like secondhand knowledge, right? You're going out and you're asking other people and determining what something's worth based on hearsay. So
yeah, I believe the newer one, the WADA games or whatever,
they're better, right?
They're definitely better than the VGA, which was just
bullshit.
Comic book people saying that they could do it for extra money.
Yeah. But yeah, I had to touch on that story again because like just dumbfounded that worked out the way it did. I mean, I'm super happy for the dude and his family for finding that in their attic. Like, good on them, but what the hell? And then to make matters worse, that's in the news. And then 3 days later, a world championship cart walks into Pink Gorilla, which is like the second time in 6 months that this has happened. But this was apparently not just somebody bringing in what they knew they had. I guess this was a case of somebody brought in like a bag full of like, here's my old Nintendo games. Let me know what you can give me. And good on Pink Gorilla for like acknowledging it and saying like, no, this is special. Here's $13,000 for it. Cause to be honest, they didn't have to do that. It could have been like, here's $50 for everything.
Yeah.
but kind of incredible. Kind of, again, re-emphasizes the fact that Portland, Seattle, Washington, all of that Oregon area where all these studios and headquarters are based at is like the Mecca. Because if you get somebody bringing in that with a bunch of crap games, that's kind of incredible. I kind of also feel like it's ridiculous as to how many of these have been discovered in the last 9 months. I think we're up to the third new discovery, just out of the blue for World Championship cards. Kind of crazy.
What was the number? Do we know the original number?
So I don't know. I think like projections were initially that it was like pretty low, like maybe 150 to 95. But I was listening to somebody else talking about how they think there might have been like 350 because there were 90 some winners that were given the cart, but that didn't include like actual competition carts. So there's probably more than people realize, but I don't think Nintendo has confirmed.
To come across one of those bags with just that kind of crap in there, oh my gosh, that would be awesome. But Ryan, you'd be the guy that'd be like, $50? Yeah, I'll take that.
Right.
I know you.
Well, and the thing is like they paid that much for it, right? But they said they sold it privately to a collector within 24 hours. So that probably, I doubt it went for less than 20,000. I think that was about the price of the last one that sold. So nuts. And this, like, I don't endorse prices like that. Like, that's like you're the cream of the crap as far as collecting goes, like completionist collecting goes, but that at least like makes more sense in my head to me than a $9,000 Kid Icarus. So I still wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take out a, home equity loan to pay for that cart. But
when the banker asks you, so what are you going to do with the money? Yeah, there's this little video
I'm
game.
going to refinance my student debt and buy a Nintendo World Championship. What's that? Nothing. Yeah.
Honestly, like if you went in there if you did your research and showed how it might be a good investment up until this point, they might, if you had the right banker, they'd be like, maybe. I certainly wouldn't hold anything against it, but
that is true. Good on them, though.
Yeah.
A couple lucky bastards 2 weeks in a row. It's pretty amazing.
There's going to be more too.
Maybe one day it will be one of us.
Most likely me.
Maybe I'll find another string and hanging out of a cat, and I'll pull on that, and out comes a, gold cart. Nintendo World Championship.
I feel like this should be a Christmas video for Vidya Please make it happen.
Oh, that's some good ideas. I got a few months to work on it.
Oh.
Make sure you send it into the grading service with all the shit all over it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yes.
Well, those graders don't know what they're even looking at, so they would get it, and then they assume all copies should have these brown spots all over it. So they're like, "Oh, yours doesn't have these brown spots, so it's not worth as much."
What you do is you put the gray Nintendo World Championships cartridge into your cat, make him eat it, and then you feed him nothing but Goldschlager for the next 3 weeks, and it comes out as the gold cart. And you've just made an extra 10 grand. It's totally worth it.
I think PETA approves, right?
Yeah, totally.
The cats, they're like, why does this cartridge have to be so big when the chip is so small?
Oh, God. I don't know how to segue out of this, so let's just cut to our interview with
Oh, I got something.
Nate. Oh, what do you got?
I've been playing the Game of the Year for 2019. Just started it today. Yep.
What is it?
It's also the Game of the Year for 2018, 2017, and 2016. And that's No Man's Sky.
You didn't. You bought the VR?
It's a free update.
Oh, it's free?
Yep. So I played it in VR tonight, and it was spiritual. Gotta say.
Did it really change the game that much?
It's pretty cool, for sure. There's certain sections of it where it's a very good concept in VR, but it does not feel good to be in VR.
I mean, if I'm still like blasting 8,000 rocks to like mine whatever the fuck it is I need in VR, I don't know if that's an update that I need in my life.
Yeah. I haven't played enough of it to know if they've changed any of that, where it's a lot more or less grinding just for, different materials, but
Sure.
it seems like they have actual multiplayer now too. So that'd be cool.
Well, being it's got a VR ad in, I might have to update it. I haven't played that game outside of like the 3 hours I sunk into it initially, so
yeah,
might be worth it.
Yep.
I like how that game just like resurfaces every 9 months. They're like, well, we're doing a thing. I think the headline that I liked the most was this newest update won't destroy your bases, probably. No Man's Sky. And I was like, oh, that's resounding.
It probably will eventually or something. I don't know.
Eventually.
They add a lot of stuff, but I just haven't had a lot of time with it to see all that stuff.
Well, it's hard to argue with free, I guess, if you already bought the game.
At this point, I think they've more than made up for their mistake on that game, but
waiting 18 months to release it probably would have been a better bet.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? I heard it's coming to Switch potentially.
Oh, really?
I don't know if that's true. It was just speculation. Somebody said that he was interested in it. So
I could see it. I mean, they've made it super blurry in VR, so just port it over to Switch.
Let's just go for it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'd love to continue talking about the news because there are some more things, but we got this interview to splice in. So this is Nate and myself talking with Danton, fellow collector, friend, and gamer in our local area. So please enjoy this interview, and we'll cut back in with Failbag once it's all done. All right, so Nate and I here, we're sitting down with our buddy Danton. He has decided to join us. First time seeing my game room. Can you tell everyone how amazing you think it is?
It is amazing. That's what you wanted me to tell him, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
It wasn't forced at all, right? That's your actual thoughts?
Of course not. I was definitely not paid in Reese's Pieces to tell you that.
Dang it, I was going to pay you in sexual favors, but...
In reality, it's just like a wallpaper, like printed of games, and you really only have the Mario trilogy.
Right.
I guess
I can green screen anything these days.
Yeah, I guess I didn't touch any of the games, so that's very true.
Yeah, your first clue should have been, why aren't we playing any of these? Well, you see. So, we thought we'd have you on the podcast. We've been talking about this for a while, but Nate and I are always blown away with Danton's ability to mod all of the consoles that you get, backup games. Yeah. You're here helping me as we speak, recording this, hack my PlayStation Classic, which I think most normal people would be competent enough to do, but I'm dumb. So I have to have Danton help me with that even.
Yeah.
He updated my my arcade cabinets. Yeah, you've kind of been like the go-to person for all things technical.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I enjoy most about, the gaming scene, except for the actual gaming part. Just getting the best output, whether it's like video quality or just user, I don't know how to say it, best quality of life as far as playing your games too.
Right.
So whether that's using an adapter to play your Game Boy Advance games on a TV using a Super Nintendo controller instead of the $200 Hori pad that is an official controller.
Right, which you also just hooked me up with. So
yeah.
Not the Hori pad, but the sweet adapter.
The sweet adapter.
Yes,
yeah.
The affordable adapter.
From RAFnet. RAFnet Industries.
Do they make rafts?
Well, I think the guy's name might be Raphael, I'm guessing. He's French-Canadian. That's all I could get out of it.
Does he like pizza?
I hope so.
Could he secretly
who
be
doesn't
a Ninja
like
Turtle?
pizza? And
that's
so,
what I want to know.
But no, they have adapter cables for pretty much every sort of console-to-console situation that you might find yourself in. And so the one that I found the most convenient for me would be the GameCube to Super Nintendo controller, because you could use it on the Wii if you have a modded Wii to do emulation and play ROMs like that. You can use an official Super Nintendo controller. You can even use like 8BitDo's Bluetooth adapter to play wirelessly as well as you could even hook up a PS4 controller to your GameCube, playing Game Boy games with it.
Jeez.
So there's all sorts of options, but
yeah, I think when we went over to your game room, it was pretty overwhelming with just the amount of like things that are hooked up in different ways, and you can make things, multiple TVs, and I mean that was pretty amazing. Why don't you share a little bit about your setup?
Yeah. So I believe right now I have 15 consoles hooked up all at once, ready to play. They are all component outputting, whether that's like an RGB to component cable, like HD Retrovision's cable, or if they made an official cable, it's hooked up via that cable into a matrix switch. So a matrix switch, what that is it's kind of like an input selector, where you can select which video game console you want to play, but then it also gives you the option of which output you want to use. So whether or not you have multiple TVs hooked up, if you have a capture card hooked up at the same time, if you have a separate receiver for your audio, you can have everything kind of directed as you want. So I have those 15 consoles hooked up into an NEC XM29 CRT monitor.
Mine's a struggle with like 4 consoles. I'm like, I gotta unplug this one and plug it back in. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I've only had to hook them up once, and then they stay that way. And I have a couple of surge protectors that I turn off when I'm not using it, just so it doesn't draw a bunch of power just sitting there turned off. But I have that monitor. I used to have a 40-inch CRT Sony, but
I wonder where that's at.
It's only 40 inches?
That one
like
was
50.
Yeah, it was 40 inches.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Hey-oh.
But it had the built-in shelving stand, or it's a 2-piece. And I was able to give that to Nate.
It's now in storage and will be going into my new game room.
Yeah.
I'm excited, but that thing's a beast.
Yeah.
4 guys to kind of move that thing around.
I think I looked it up, and the TV part is like 220 pounds, and then the stand is another 100.
And it feels it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. What I liked about your setup, too, is like when we went over there for the game night, like you are like fully prepared with the EverDrives and like the mods and like loading ISOs, and you've got everything backed up.
Yep.
Like you were just like, what do you want to play? And you throw out a game, and instantly it was like, well, that's on now. Let's play that.
And it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing that you're like, like everything looks so fresh, so new.
Right.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. The awesome thing and the attractive part about those monitors, the CRT monitors, especially like the ones that the Sony PVMs or the professional video monitors or the BVMs, which are the broadcast video monitors, those are they weren't ever a consumer product, but they were meant to give the best video output, to where anyone that was in a studio would have exactly the image that they were wanting to have on the screen at that time. So it's crystal clear. You can see every pixel. You can see, the scan lines in between. Depending on the screen, it could be nice and thick, which some people like, some people don't. I'm a fan of them for the older games. But
I know Nate really likes it nice and thick.
Nice and thick.
Preach.
But yeah, as far as like game collecting, I have the games for the most part that I want. Whether that was growing up as a kid or the ones that I never had as a kid and always wanted. So then everything in between, or the ones that are kind of out of my price range, I kind of filled that void with EverDrives. And I think I have every cartridge EverDrive for the consoles that I have. So that would be Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, the 32X doesn't have its separate, but it's included in the Sega Genesis EverDrive, N64. Those are the cartridge games, as well as Turbografx 16. I have an EverDrive for that. And then I also modded my PlayStation 1, 2, 3. I have a modded Xbox Wii,
Shorter list might be
GameCube.
like consoles you own that you haven't modded, right? Because do you have one?
Right now the Xbox 360,
Okay.
but I'm in process of that right now. It's
amazing.
sitting torn apart with a bunch of wires and a mod chip and a 2 terabyte hard drive that's waiting to go into it.
But that's
so.
what you see when you go into your game room. Like you have a soldering station, kind of a workstation.
Yep.
Wires everywhere, soldered. Like this is some like mad scientist stuff.
Yeah,
It comes across as mad scientist for Ryan.
Yeah, for us, we're like, I don't understand
What
any
are
of
you
this, but I
talking
love
about?
it.
But it sounds so awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like the business in the front, party in the back, where it's one end is the soldering station and the other one is the gaming station. So it's a lot of fun. I'm glad that I have room for it all, and that it's just a bedroom, but it's converted
It's all the space
like
you
everything
need.
else. Yeah.
See, it's a good thing that you do mod and like go the EverDrive route, because like if you were insane like Nate and I, you just bought every cartridge or game you saw, you'd be short on space pretty quick.
Yeah, and I think
And money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, and even with all of the EverDrives and the modding and the SD cards and all that stuff, I think I still have about 1,200 games.
Yeah,
In
you
my
have a
collection,
respectable
yeah.
collection.
Yep. So it's it's the ones that I like or the ones that I plan on playing at least, and so I could probably thin it out even more, but I have the space, so
Right.
I might as well keep them for now.
So are you interested at all at that new, I can't even remember the name, there's that new flash cart coming out for the Genesis that
The
will
Mega
do...
SD.
Yeah, so it'll do the
Yes.
CD, the 32X, and the Genesis.
I'm not entirely sure if it'll do 32X.
Oh,
yet.
really?
Yeah. I would have to look it up again, but I think that was the one thing that was kind of hindering it.
Like, iffy. But even like the CD emulation,
Yeah,
that's a huge one.
that is very huge.
And you don't need the components because it'll do it all natively through the cart and your standard Genesis, right?
Yes. So you could even play Sega CD games off of like a Sega Genesis Model 3. You could even play one off of the Nomad, which is huge because up until that point you're kind of limited to your home console, but now
Yeah.
that Mega SD it's very attractive. And I think it's
What's the price point? It's up there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the high end for that.
I think it's like $350. I think that's just off the top of my head.
But if it's in theory your one-stop shop and it eliminates a huge amount of shelf space,
Yep.
it's probably worth it.
Yeah, I think so. And then I believe it also adds in save states too,
Okay.
if you like to play that way.
Yeah.
And so not only would you have your Sega CD games all in this one cartridge, but you would also have your Sega Genesis. I think they're adding in virtual racing support. I know that was one of the games that have always eluded EverDrives. And so the support behind it is huge. They're still developing stuff. I believe that the first batch is coming out here soon. So we'll see reviews of it. And I think there's early development reviews already out there on YouTube and stuff.
I think sweet.
It's really cool. Part of me wants to, sell my EverDrive that I have now and do a little upgrade, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's one I looked at and I thought, well, I might do that because like I'm not a huge Genesis guy.
Yeah.
Plus, it does like the Master System games too. So it's
Yes.
like I can unload those libraries, and I don't have the Sega CD anyway.
Yep.
But now I'd have the ability to play those games, so I could probably just pay for the damn thing, unloading the handful of titles that I have. Because I like that Sega stuff, but I don't have like the nostalgia for it. So at that point, to me, that's like one of those systems where I think the flash card makes the most sense in my collection.
Yeah. And if I remember right too, now that you mentioned the Master System, I believe that it can also play modified Game Gear ROMs as well.
Right.
And so I think there's like a patch that you have to run it through. So you can play Game Gear on a TV in, depending on what system you're using it on. If you're using it on a Mega SG, then you have your HDMI out, so you got crystal clear Game Gear, which would be
ultimate combo.
kind of an overkill, but
Right.
Well, but I mean,
at that time,
yeah, if you're going for like the premium experience, you're gonna do it once. Because the only other way to do Game Gear on TV up to now has been like that super hokey Hyperkin adapter for the Retron 5 that I've heard is like a pain in the butt to get working.
Yeah, as far as like a manufactured product.
Yeah.
That's like the only way, I believe. There are some like Game Gear modifications too that you can do a VGA or RGB video output from Game Gear to a TV. But that's not really for like the common user like it would be that Hyperkin adapter or the Mega SG or Mega SD, sorry.
It's all over my head.
Yeah, I think you're drooling a little bit there.
No, it is. It's pretty sweet. So you said you have like 1,200 games or so. What is your collection kind of focus on? Because I know we kind of all have. I mean, Ryan and I are NES guys.
Yeah.
I mean, is there something that you're just drawn to that you're like, I love this stuff, gotta have it all? Or types of games?
Yeah. So if you're going off of just like a count of number of games that I have like per console or per system, I believe, like not including modern consoles, but I believe my PS2 collection is the highest as far as a per game amount. I do really enjoy the PS2. I don't really focus on a certain console though. As far as gaming types, I really like beat 'em up games and shoot 'em up or shmups. I'm not an RPG fan at all.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. I
Sorry
don't
for
find
any
any
listener,
interest
Andy.
in
You know,
that.
it's great not being an RPG fan though, because it's one of those types of games that you can find cheap often enough and flip it for way more money. And
Yep.
like, every time I do, because
I can't get
like
attached.
Lunar for 99 cents, I'm like, oh, I just got myself a nice NES game now.
Yep, and I've done that with Final Fantasy games
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. It's an easy flip, and you know the one RPG game that I kind of want to get just because would be Super Mario RPG, but
Sure.
that also has
different.
some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's such a strange game. I've tried to get into that so many times, especially now that it's on the classic.
Yep.
And yeah, I just can't do it.
Well, it was a weird mix between Square. Oh, was it Square at the time? SquareSoft or Square Enix?
Yeah, it might have been Squeenix, I think.
Yeah,
Squeenix.
yeah, and they got the rights to the Nintendo
Yeah.
characters or Mario characters, and so it was
It's one of the like coolest uses of the FX chips, though.
yes,
Like I think like what it pulled off was kind of amazing.
yeah,
They did a good job of like bridging that gap of like we're not at 3D yet, but look what we can still do on the Super Nintendo.
oh definitely. I almost think that it's kind of like a, you know, they take what Donkey Kong Country had with their sprite work
Yeah.
and took it into almost a 3D plane,
Yeah.
and they did a really good job at it.
Yeah, it's a cool game.
So going back to the modding, what kind of mods are you working on now?
So right now I have a backlog of broken consoles that I'm trying to repair, or if I have time, working
Just
on
to fix them up?
just to fix them up.
The Brad
sell 'em.
tried or whatever.
Yeah, the Brad tried NES that I had posted on my Twitter, and then there's I think I have like 2 Sega Genesis Model 2s, a Super Nintendo, Nintendo DSi XL.
So it's more repairs
More repairs
rather
for
than
those
mods.
Yes,
Okay.
yep. As far as mods go, I just finished up adding an optical disc emulator, an ODE, to my Sega Saturn, mainly because I don't ever find Sega Saturn games
Right.
ever, and so
Not around
Yeah.
this area ever.
Nothing but sports if you do.
Yep.
I don't
And-
think I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Ever.
Really,
In
yeah. I
this
mean,
area.
at this point, it's pretty uncommon. Yeah.
Right.
sports games in broken cases is
Yeah.
all it really is. And so that optical drive emulator replaces the disk drive in that Sega Saturn and puts in a little board that has an SD card slot in it, so you can load in your perfectly legal games
Of course.
to where you can play in any sort of Sega Saturn game that you've legally ripped of your own collection,
Right.
as we're all nodding slowly.
Yep.
Um,
Because I just got sick of pulling my Panzer Dragoon Saga off the shelf, and putting it in. So.
you know, I tried touching that, but all it did was it felt like a wall. I was
It's
trying to grab
not
it.
even real.
Well, and then as far as other mods, I'm working on an Xbox 360 mod. I got one of those consoles from GameStop over Christmas that you could buy it for, was it $70 or $75, and they give you a $75 prepaid card.
Oh, really?
It was like a rebate, so it was like a free console.
Nice.
So I'm modding that in the process of it. It's torn apart in my game room, and I'm having issues with it, so it's kind of sitting until I have time.
But you got your consoleized MVS all stereoed up now?
Yes.
I'm pretty jealous of that.
Well, and I found out that it was never broken to begin with. It was actually just the type of audio that it was outputting. So Nate, you might get lost again in this, but
I'll focus.
Listen to the words out of my mouth. So the MVS consoleized, straight off the board, how you do the stereo mod, it comes off the board with line level audio. And so the matrix switches that I have that console going into does not like line level. It actually likes stereo level or speaker level. And so when trying to have it go through the matrix switches, it actually canceled out the audio. So I actually had to bypass that into my stereo amp to be able to play the sound from it. And so it worked, and it always did. I just thought it was broken, but
you should get one of those like cool looking like solenoid like phono preamps that people use for like turntables. Then you can have like LED lights. It looks sweet.
Well, I was thinking not even the LEDs, but the old tubes that
Yeah.
they would light up the backs with.
Yep. There you go.
That'd be neat.
I mean, you might as well.
Yeah. To say I got the room, I guess. Well, for now.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's awesome. Yeah, that thing's pretty sweet. I've been looking at those too. Like when you said you ordered one, I was like so tempted. I'm like, damn it. It
Well,
looks so good.
yeah, well, when we went to Midwest Gaming Classic and I think we found maybe one AES.
Yeah, and then they had the Omega there always too.
Yeah.
Which is always like super tempting, but I've heard bad deal with like if you need repairs, like months to years you're waiting. So.
Yes. Yeah, there's one YouTuber that I follow in the Neo Geo scene, Scarlet Sprites.
Okay.
He had an Omega, and he had an issue with, I believe it was like the component output or something like that. And he sent it in, and I think it took him like 3-4 months to actually get it back.
It's crazy.
And I think there was only like 2 or 3 email communications just saying, "Oh yeah, we're working on it," or "Oh yeah, we'll get it back to you." And it seemed like in his experience there was no like customer service or no notice as far as what was wrong with it, what was going on, and I believe he sold that off shortly after.
Sure.
I mean, are a
after
lot of
getting
these
back.
companies, are they, and I'm going to sound completely ignorant, are they like mom and pop places? Like, I just picture a lot of these mods are coming out of people's basements. And
with the Omega, that's like a boutique. Like, yeah, that's definitely like a guy or two like consoleizing those. I think with the one you got, that's more of like a probably sweatshop in Japan or China where they're like consoleizing these MVS ones.
Yeah, I think it's China.
And there's like this never-ending supply. It's like, where did China get all these MVS caps from?
Yeah, that's what I kind of wondered, and that's why I pulled the trigger when I did.
Yeah.
Because what was it? 6 months ago, it was like $50 or $60 cheaper, and so my thought process was, well, you got to run out eventually,
Right.
and so when they get close to running out of stock, they're just gonna up the price until they are completely gone, and then good luck trying to get one. And so I think I paid. So I got the I don't know, the higher tier one compared to the basic, which would give you like RGB and component output, as well as, so you'd get your Neo Geo controller ports, but then you would also have the option to use Sega Saturn,
which is a huge cost saver.
Huge cost saver. They also have really good arcade sticks for the Sega Saturn, so it only makes sense. I got that along with the 161 in one cart. I think it cost me like $350 shipped, something like that. And that alone is cheaper than the Omega. And I haven't had any issues that were caused directly by the seller.
Right.
There were some caused by me, but I was able to fix them. And honestly, I consider it a really good purchase. I've gotten a lot of use out of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, if you look at like the comparables, which would be like the 2 slots that come up for sale every once in a while, for like the $550 to $650 price range, like now you have more options. Like you don't have to worry about like a monitor going out, faulty joysticks, like where to put a freaking cabinet.
Yep. Yeah. And if I remember right too, they've actually upgraded or changed up their consoleized systems to where it has that stereo mod built in already. And so you don't need to worry about opening it up and messing with the wires and cutting traces and all that stuff.
I've always said, like, I don't understand why, because SNK seems like so hell-bent on, like, reintroducing their brand to the market. Like, I don't know why they don't just go for it and make, like, modernized, full, like, pre-order only, ship through them MVS caps. Like, I don't know why they don't just do it, because collectors would buy it. Like, it's not like you have to make 5,000 of them. Just like do a run of like 150. Yep. Like people would go nuts.
Yeah, they could even have it, in pieces.
Right.
And people would still buy them up, assemble them.
Yeah, look at the arcade 1-up. I mean, those are basically like disposable arcade cabinets, and people are paying $450 for those.
Yeah.
Or $299, myself included. Yeah, I would go for it in a heartbeat. It'd be great. What else are they gonna do? Give us another mini console? Come on.
You
just got the mini too, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Where did you find that?
So, honestly, on Twitter, I follow some like deal feeds, and there was one for Amazon. I think it was called the Neo Geo Mini Pro Gamer Set or something like that. So it was the little mini along with black and white controller.
So you have the Japanese and the North American controller variant.
Yep, and then it also came with a mini to regular HDMI cable.
Okay.
And I think it was like the Lightning deal was like $65 or something. So
that's great.
Yeah, when you factor in, the mini alone was initially selling for $100, I believe. With the controllers were each $20, I think, and
the hack on that has gotten pretty stable now, right?
I haven't done it yet.
Okay. I know I saw some initial users and people were like, it was not working at all. It was like bugging out with like the console controllers, but if you plug in externals, but that was like the very first hacked firmware that I saw out there. I think it's probably gotten better by now.
Yeah, I'm guessing that it's gotten under control or stabilized by now.
Yeah. Usually,
within months of a new like mini console like that, there's a lot of people developing or working on it. And
yeah.
So, I'm guessing just with time, it'll get stabilized and you can add all sorts of games to it, even ones that weren't on the Neo Geo AES or arcade cabinets. So,
it's awesome.
Yeah. So, Nate, when are we doing all of your consoles up again? You said you wanted.
So, I'm in the process of moving my game room. And like Danton is now going to be like the go-to guy to be like, how can we make this awesome? Although it is going to be very expensive, but I kind of want the quality look. Now that I've experienced it, I've been a purist in a way where I'm just like, yeah, this is good. I like it. It plays the game. But after going to your game room and playing those things on like the premium looking stuff, I'm like, I kind of have to have this.
Is it that much better though?
I don't know. The colors just look so good.
Nothing wrong with Danton's amazing setup. I just think you are going to be throwing cash at that stuff.
Yeah. I like shiny things.
You have to ask yourself, do you want little Samson or do you want all your consoles RGB modded through a PDM?
Right.
Because you could be at that point quickly.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I would just consider just a slow bleed and just do a little bit at a time. But if you want to go, balls to the wall, you can blow.
That's me, balls to the walls.
Yeah, you can blow you can blow cash really fast, just like you blow everything else.
Blowing cash. Wow. All right, the guest is now being rude.
Cash is the name of his dog, actually.
Oh.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Dad joke.
Here you go.
But yeah, no, I follow a lot of really intelligent and smart people that have a capability beyond mine even. And so anything that I do is I'm not breaking any new ground by any means. It's me following, awesome people that are actually creating these mod chips or making these tutorials on YouTube. And I just kind of follow along and hope that I don't break anything. And usually, in most cases, get a good outcome.
And you're like our super technical person that we follow.
Where I'm like, how do I update my Windows and those kind of things?
And I'm like, well, you got to turn it on first.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, no, it's fun. I like doing it. Just the whole, beyond playing the video games, knowing that there is the ability to get a good a quality that you can with those older systems, especially like, the NES top loader that has RF only, and you can get it to output RGB or the highest analog signal that you can get with that.
Right.
It's a world of a difference, and it's really cool to be able to do something like that to where you can kind of give a console that's 30 years old a fresh breath of air in it and kind of make it seem like the games that you remember playing or how you remember playing them is exactly how you're seeing them on the TV too. I enjoy those.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like to your point, like it's kind of amazing that there's enough of a community out there that there are people still supporting and like finding new ways to make new chips and new products and loaders. Like, it's kind of unbelievable because when you really think about it, there's no reason that anyone should have to anymore at this point. So it's great that there's like a whole community of people who are like, no,
Yep.
I want original hardware and I want it to work better than it did before.
Well, like the most recent one that's already getting into consumers' hands is that GBA consolizer we were talking about before.
I hate the price point on that, but I guess it's neat. But I just look at my GameCube and I'm like, this is enough. Like,
Yeah.
the Game Boy Advance player is pretty good.
Yeah.
I get HDMI for my GameCube, so
You do?
well, you could. I
You
could buy
could.
that $140 doohickey
Yeah, the little dongle.
little dongle.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just fun to say dongle.
I like to take any opportunity I can say dongle to say dongle, so
Makes sense.
Love them dongles.
damn dongles.
So you're gonna buy the consolizer? Yes.
Thinking about it. Yeah.
That was a yes. You
I was
paused
gonna
too long
say,
on that.
Yeah, like
I already did.
well, just thinking about it, like I already have, probably, 2 official ways of playing Game Boy Advance cartridges: the Game Boy Player, and then I also have a Retron 5. It's
Do you know that?
No
I was
use,
just
but-
thinking that consolizer would be a really sick and slick way to make a custom killer setup for 4 Swords and Pac-Man Versus.
that's what I was thinking too. 4 Swords with that.
Yes.
So when we got together, we played 4 Swords. This is the first time I played 4 Swords.
You're a dick in 4 Swords, by the way, too.
And it was 4 Swords that turned into Smash Brothers really quick, where I'm picking up Ryan and I wouldn't set him down, and it was starting to get
It was
very
going to get
aggressive.
physically violent if you did not
Yeah.
shut that off
Yes.
after a while.
So what it was Ryan and Nate just beating each other up, and here I am just, oh yeah, we need to go over here, guys. And so then it would stop, move over to the next square of screen, and then they would just keep beating each other up. And we would just keep
then
moving
we get
along.
to that end level, and it would like tally up the points, and it'd be like Nate and I at the bottom, and it would spend like 5 minutes tallying up Danton's score because
Well,
it looks like all the points went to you.
And first off, you guys would be, talking trash about who got more, and then it would, end at like 200 piece for each of you, and then I think I had like 2,000 at one point, and
Yeah, it was nuts. Well, you maxed out at one point, and then it still continued counting for at least another 30 seconds.
yeah.
So we definitely played that wrong. It was fun.
We'd pick you up and then like get to a void and just throw each other.
Yeah, that turned
off
ugly
of-
quickly.
Oh my gosh,
Yes, the
Yeah.
subfloor
it's
areas.
great. We should play through it at some
Again,
point.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to.
But
Well,
maybe
just say-
play it differently next time.
I did talk to CJ at Replay, and he's like, I'm like, could you just like totally set that up for us? And he's like, yeah.
Well, and I saw that he said on Twitter that he wanted to buy or order a bunch of those consoles.
Oh, really?
Boards and stuff. And so I sent him a tweet. I'm like, well, it doesn't really make sense if you already have Game Boy or Game Boy players on
And you got one
GameCubes.
loader disc, right?
Yep, yeah, because all you need is one loader disc. You would boot the first game, and then when it's past the boot screen, you can actually take out the boot disc, because that's all it is. It's just
loads
it
into it.
loads up the BIOS and loads the game up, and then you can just put it in the next Game Boy or GameCube and rinse and repeat. And you have four GameCubes playing Four Swords on a.
So fun.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and it worked really well for us playing on Game Boy Advances with the monitor as
It
the
would
main
look
screen.
amazing though, like with like a huge 50-inch center TV and then like 432s.
Yep.
Like just have all one big play area. It'd be great.
Well, and then like a little spot where you two can actually fight physically,
Yeah, I like
and then
it.
we can throw gems at you.
Love it.
Yep,
It's gonna happen.
be perfect.
Gotta wear a mouth guard.
I'm playing Four Swords. I brought my own mouth guard. I'm ready. My gosh.
Oh, well, I suppose we've rambled on long enough, but
Definitely a Midwest ending right there. Oh, I suppose
oh gee golly.
everyone
Alrighty
knows
now.
that's the key to leave the room or to be done.
Okay now.
I'm not
Okay,
usually
now.
the outro guy. That's Nate. Or
I
maybe.
am. No, we appreciate you coming on and
Yeah.
and sharing your modding
Yeah.
skills and game room stuff like that. If people want to check you out on socials, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm mainly found on Twitter. My Twitter handle is RetroDanto, so RetroDanto. And that's usually where I hang out. I don't really have
What about your Tinder profile?
Tinder profile has been
Just-
shut down.
Farmers only?
Farmers Only, I think, is still active for another 30
Bumble?
days or so.
I don't know any other Grinder. Is it Grinder?
RedTube?
Well, Christian Mingle,
I
I,
just
I
learned
haven't
what that one
re-upped
was.
on that one yet.
Okay.
But
All right. Well, so you can just find him on Twitter. He's got some great things on there, so you should definitely go check
Yeah.
him out.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have you back on again.
Absolutely.
oh, definitely. It should be.
We'll have more consoles that we need help with.
Yeah, and I will hopefully be available to help you out.
Old lady walking in the midday sun. She stops for lunch at the House of Buns. She orders a hamburger. And they brought her some buns with a choke of small horse. She thought she's getting one heck of a deal. $1.99 for a whole darn meal. But when she opened the buns, put on the mustard, her eyes squinted up, she got all flustered. She said, I've had burgers, well done and rare. Now I got one that ain't even there. She got no response from ringing the bell, and that's when she started to yell.
Where's the beef? She don't see no beef at all.
Where's the beef?
Call him cop and catch the thief, the one who stole this lady's beef.
Where's the beef?
Mighty, mighty mo. Tell us where did her beef?
Where's the beef?
Somebody and her grief. Tell her where's the beef.
Anybody hear me? I don't think there's anybody back there.
All right, moving on to the Failbag, where we look at 20-year-old questions from old gaming magazines and answer them as if they were addressed to us. Since we were playing some Turbografx games earlier in this episode, I figured we'd go to the short-lived Turbo Play magazine.
RIP.
Yeah, lasted a little bit less than the Turbografx itself, but let's start out with Deano. He says, I've heard about games like Batman and Operation Wolf having been released for the PC Engine in Japan. Licenses that Americans can relate to. Will these games ever show up for the Turbografx or Duo in this country?
I can assure you that the Batman released for the PC Engine is nothing that anyone in America wants to relate to. But there are plenty of other quality titles that, yes, I'm sure we can. And they did get ported over here.
Did
Yeah, quite a few of
Turbografx
them.
have a light gun?
Negative.
No.
Not outside of... I don't know if they had one in Japan.
That is a good question.
Because Operation Wolf would not be fun without it.
Was it Operation Wolf or Bloody Wolf?
Operation Wolf.
Oh, I didn't know that got a port.
No, it didn't, I don't think. But he was asking why not.
Because it sucks the little light gun. Nate answered it.
Done. That's why,
Boom.
buddy.
Mic drop.
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
a
it seems like there
Turbografx
is no light-
expert.
There's light gun.
I feel like it would be impossible without a light gun. Speaking of impossible, random, but
Yeah.
you know what I had today?
Tell me, Ryan.
You don't sound enthused, Nate.
Ryan, oh my gosh, tell me.
I had the newfangled Impossible Whopper from Burger King.
Sounds
Wow.
delicious. What is it?
It means it's impossible to tell that it's not meat. And
Was
with Burger King's flame broiled flavor on everything, I will concur that I probably wouldn't have known it wasn't meat had I not ordered the Impossible Whopper myself. So
Do you
there
feel
go.
like a changed man now?
I mean, I want to eat real meat now 3 hours later because it doesn't quite satisfy me the way that like a good old hunk of beef would. But
Get this guy some meat. Get him some meat.
need some meat. But I would say if you don't want to feel guilty about slaughtering animals and would also like a Whopper, sure, go for it.
Can you even call it a Whopper?
Dude, I trust that Impossible Burger more than I trust the meat that Burger King serves me. I'm just saying right now. At least I know 100% it's not meat. And they're not trying to pass off like freaking rat stew and bunny pellets as a burger.
All right, you heard it first. Burger King has bunny pellets.
Deep fried with mac and cheese.
It's just
I'd eat
plain
it.
broiled. It's fine.
Mm.
I wonder if you could go in there and ask for like a double Whopper and then I want it my way. One Impossible patty and one meat patty.
And can you also put a deep fried chicken fillet on top?
Yeah.
Round it all out.
I'll take that Impossible Whopper, but like to just put a patty on there, meat patty. So you want a Whopper? No. Has to be Impossible.
Yes, it is good. I've had the Beyond Burgers also, which are very, I would say like my kids didn't know the difference. I knew because I cooked them, but like they still have like a lot of calories and like saturated fats, which I think they're trying to do to like make the non-meat products still have like the same nutritional value, which makes sense. I don't know if like an Impossible Burger is actually better for you or not, but again, like if it comes back to the guilty conscience thing and like you're at Burger King, sure. In fact, I would probably buy this next time. If they still have it on the menu 6 months from now, which I'll be shocked, I would pretty much always rather take like this. I feel like the Impossible Burger is a more known substance than the Burger King burger. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. It's a formula that was brought to them, to their kitchen. So
Yes.
is it more expensive than like an
Um,
actual Whopper?
I don't know. Maybe I don't go to Burger King ever.
Yeah.
I just went for that. I think it was like $8 for the combo. So it seems probably about right.
Mm-hmm.
Was anybody else ordering it?
Was anybody else?
Yeah.
I was at the drive-thru, so maybe.
Oh.
Yell out the window. Anybody else can?
Y'all got the Impossible Burger?
They got a tally board, and there's only one on there.
I did think it was funny that they like told me at the drive-thru, like, can we have you pull over to the side there because we're out of fries? Like, couldn't you just tell me that you're making me wait longer because you just made my Impossible Burger fresh instead of like trying to tell me that a fast food joint is out of fucking fries?
We gotta cut the potatoes in the back quick.
Yeah, you got fries for days. Don't lie to me, kid.
Hmm.
Turbografx.
Yeah. Where was I? I do like how they share in your concern about how Batman is not a good game, and you should not be worried about not having Batman over here.
I concur. That is bad.
But they also said, oh yeah, Japan has a lot of games that you would be surprised to hear, like Operation Wolf, Rastan, Columns, Altered Beast, Outrun, Afterburner 2, Thunderblade, and Golden Axe. Those all sound like games from a specific company that would probably not want to put it on a competing system.
Yeah, it's not like they have a Master System or upcoming Genesis to sell them to you on.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of surprised they did it in Japan even.
Well, I think at that point the PC Engine had like attained dominance, and Sega was probably just like, well, it's like throttling the NES. Let's throw a few things like throw a dagger into it.
Yeah. I guess they did put a few of those out on NES, right? Through Tengen.
Yeah, Afterburner for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like this one because, well, let's get into it. Jason from Wisconsin, he says, I have a question about Fighting Street in the Turbografx CD version of Capcom's original Street Fighter arcade game. At the beginning of each round, the computer says, Michael. Does this refer to the character in the game named Mike? If not, what does it mean? And obviously they say fight at the beginning. So like,
Right. I was going to say, where are you hearing Michael?
I
Is
was
this like Fighting Street?
desperately,
Fighting
Yeah.
Street, right? On the Turbografx? Yeah.
desperately trying to figure out
Michael!
where does Michael?
I think it means you have a crush on Michael. If you're hearing Michael every time.
I have to double check to make sure his name is not Michael. That would be pretty. No,
Oh.
it's Jason for sure.
Jason and Michael sitting in a tree.
Okay. Well, they go into it a little bit more. It's pronounced phonetically in Japanese as Fighto.
Fighto?
And since, the voice acting was probably a Japanese guy, he probably said Fighto instead of fight. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever played that.
I've never played Fighting Street,
Yeah.
but that makes a lot more sense than Michael.
Wow. What's that? Michael?
It's an inflatable dude ab thong.
Wow.
They actually molded that after me. Did you get an image? You
I mean,
like
don't
that?
forget we both saw that first
Do
episode
you
of the
like
podcast.
that?
So
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm thinking for kind of a return of that at some point.
I mean, I'd prefer if we keep this a shirt on podcast, but that's just me.
You
Yeah,
can't
but
stop
you're
me.
over there looking like you're just came home from a formal office. So
It's true. Yes. I didn't have time to change today.
yeah.
This is a business podcast, Ryan.
My little business,
50% less
man.
50% less dick jokes. It's not true. There's always room for dick jokes.
Oh,
Work or play.
there's so many dick jokes.
Lots of. You gotta dick a little.
Yeah. This is barely a video game podcast in the whole form of this. Once you get the
Right.
audio files.
This is a celebration of immaturity, is really what this is. I mean,
Oh.
Toys R Us taught us, I don't want to grow up. And you know what? We didn't.
That should be the new motto.
I don't want to grow up. I just want to say dick all the time.
Yeah, there is a surprising amount of, really, when you look at our podcast, there is a lot of dick jokes compared to like vaginal or breast jokes. So I don't know what kind of tone we're setting, but it's not good.
We just don't have as much experience with those. So
Right. Well, and realistically, vaginas just aren't as funny. Like, let's be honest.
yeah.
I mean, outside of queefs, that's like their one redeeming quality. So,
And those are like unicorns, basically. So
yes. Yes, that's true.
So Donnie, he says, not long ago I passed Keith Courage in Alpha Zone. I like that, saying that you passed a game. It's a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
way of stating it.
We used to do flipped.
You flipped it.
Flipped it.
Wow. Can't use that anymore. Otherwise, you're just a dirty reseller now. You're
True.
a flipper, flipping games. I don't know. We just beat him.
Probably makes more sense. So what did he say after he passed it?
The text mentions something about another Keith Courage adventure. When will this new Keith Courage game come out, if ever? And what will it be like?
Well, let me set it up. It jumps forward in time 5 years in the storyline for Keith Courage. He falls into an alternate dimension where somebody bought his game, so they cared enough to make a sequel to Keith Courage. But the reality is that didn't happen. It was a terrible pack-in, a lackluster game, and I'm sorry that you spent enough time to beat the original.
That's probably the only thing he had, right?
probably.
Poor guy. I don't know why you would want to be like, yeah, go get another one. Yeah, I guess you have to buy another Turbografx if you want
Yeah,
the second
to
one.
get the new pack in. To be fair, it isn't the worst game on the Turbografx, but there's absolutely
Oh, no.
nothing special or redeeming about it. Sadly,
It's not a Mario or a Sonic.
it is not. I think if they'd have packed in like Legendary Axe or better yet Splatterhouse.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have helped their sales costs. It'd be like Splatterhouse on the front. Maybe.
Maybe like the Chibi, Wanji, Gunparo graffiti art, you know?
Yeah.
Wanpako graffiti. I don't even know what it's called. I can't. Why am I pretending like I'm going to get it right? I'm not going to.
All right, John, he's wondering, does NEC have a cleaning kit for the Turbografx 16? And if so, why haven't I seen anything about it?
Must be like the NES cart that you would put in your,
Yep, pretty much.
like just like a Hue card. I guess they call it 1-up cards.
Yeah. I think it's the same one that you use for your NES. It's just called your mouth.
Just blow on it.
Just blow on that.
Blow it till it works.
Blow it till it comes on your screen.
I don't know if they ever made a real one for it, but
That's got to be worth
If
some
one
money if it did
exists, it's
exist.
probably in Japan, I'm guessing.
yeah. It's really
I've
easy,
really
though.
never had a problem, though, with my Turbografx, even this, as old as this is, with not reading a card.
Mm. Mine, I had to take a paper towel, put it over the card, and put some alcohol on it, and then I just went back and forth on it a little bit, and that
In and
cleaned
out.
it out. Yeah,
Nice
That
and
helped.
slow.
I
How
thought that
long
was
did
the
it take
problem,
before
but
it was squeaky clean.
Not as long as you like.
that also didn't fix the problem though, because Turbografx kind of sucks, and you have to have the card in the exact position that it wants it to be in, and sometimes that's not the spot that the console tells you to put it in.
Are we still talking about video games?
Sometimes you need to flip it over, tell it it's a bad console, and slide it in the expansion port in the rear.
Yes.
That's just how it works.
Oh yeah. Hit the run button after that.
Problem
Oh,
solved.
yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of people just saying, "We love your magazine. We love the Turbografx."
They're
And
desperately
that-
clinging onto it.
As
yeah.
they should, because it's amazing.
Yeah. But you can definitely tell, like, there's not a whole lot else going on in the world of Turbografx. This list has like all of these that are coming out, all these games that are coming out, and one of them says Disney game. What would that be?
Well, there's Darkwing Duck.
Oh,
There's
yeah, and Tailspin, right?
Tailspin,
that's right. Yes,
both of which are terrible.
that's right. Huh. There's a lot on this list that I don't think came out either. It came from the desert.
That
don't
came
think
out
that's-
CD.
Oh, okay. Camp California.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. Hey, they had a battle royale game.
Oh yeah, Fortnite.
No, it just says battle royale. But yeah, there's not a lot going on in these. So I think our days of looking at Turbografx questions are there. It's mostly just
sad.
people whining and be like, "Are we getting games for this thing?"
Man, I wish I lived in like the alternate reality where like the Turbografx had gotten the dominance that it did in Japan and like really given the Nintendo a run for its money like it did over there.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of this is these people are aware that it's going bonkers in Japan, and then they're seeing it not
Yeah.
translate over here.
I mean, obviously it didn't matter anyway because like they completely 100% squandered that advantage they had in Japan with predecessors, but it still would have been cool to have like way more releases available over here because it really is a great system.
Other than one controller port.
That's
And
true.
RF.
And Bravo Man.
Yeah.
And Impossible.
That has like sumo
Inky
guys that jump like
Courage.
frogs, so that's okay.
And Deep Blue,
Oh, yeah. We're
That's
not supposed
hurtful.
to talk about that anymore.
the shooter
I'm
that shall not be named.
I guess I'm really not doing well for the Turbografx right now. Thanks for bringing that up,
Well, Nate,
Andy.
I think we're ready to have you do your spiel.
Do you want me to use a low voice or a normal voice?
Let's tone it down a little bit. I liked it. It was sexy last time.
A little Barry White, play some of that sexy music.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Well, if you enjoy the show and would love to send us a comment, you can send that at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you check us out on social medias, Twitter, Facebook, and you can find all things Weekend Rental at weekendpodcast.com as well as geekcade.com. And as always, be kind, rewind.
Bananas, Nate. Bananas.
Diglett.
Dongle.
Chicken mole.
I'm getting like, wet dream. Play it.